The gentleman from California, Mr. LaMalfa, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a short time ago, Mr. Upton of Michigan gave a heartfelt speech about his time in Congress, and I just want to pass along my appreciation for him, especially his hard work in shepherding through the 21st Century Cures Act just a couple of terms ago. Appreciate that and his strong work in the Congress. God bless Mr. Fred Upton. Mr. Speaker, I get up here and speak a lot about the situation with food availability in this country, farming, the availability of food that comes from farming. And just recently when President Biden basically promised food shortages around the world and even the effect here in the United States, the land of abundance and the capability of growing much more than our own food supply. There's no reason the United States should be running short of food in any fashion for our own people and our ability to help other people around the world with exports or the food programs that aid those that are in the poor, dire situations in some other countries. But yet, indeed, my wife just told me a couple days ago, she was in the market there and there's an entire freezer shelf that was empty in one of the large chains, grocery stores in Northern California. How can this be? Why is it? I know we're coming out of COVID. That caused some problems. But the essential workers were in there pretty much the whole time, making it happen. Making beef available to our store shelves. Everything else. The farmers probably never really left the field. There's no reason we should be having shortages. I still hearken back to the story about 30-something years ago when Boris Yeltsin, President of Russia, came to this country along with President Bush at the time, and he'd visited the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Well, on the way out, they stopped at a grocery store there in Texas. Yeltsin just wanted to see that, I guess. And he was amazed by what is on the shelves of American stores, the bounty we have. I think it moved him to become emotional about it. And it also moved him to give up his role in the Communist Party in Russia and try to start reforming his country. Indeed, he was quoted as saying, if the Russian people could see what was on the shelves here, there'd be a revolution. That's pretty amazing. So what are we doing here in this country? The regulatory agencies, policies come out of this administration, and of course the state one in California, are basically running agriculture off the map. Taking the water away from farmers in California is a big example. Now, people around the country may be watching and wonder, why does that affect me, man? You know, a bunch of California problems. They're all messed up out there anyway, okay? So what's important, though, is that so many of these products we grow in California benefit the whole country. There's at least a dozen crops that 90 to 98% of them that Americans consume are grown in my home state. I went to this irrigation district meeting just recently here in my district. A whole bunch of farmers were gathered with the district managers there, their board. And indeed, the district's doing everything they can to make a bad situation work just a little bit better. Innovative ideas they're using. But the bottom line is the water's been taken from them. When you're talking Lake Shasta, Lake Oroville, the other projects we have in California, the state project, the federal project. How's it been taken? Well, of course, we're going through somewhat of a drought situation, but a lot of it is a man-enhanced drought because so much water has been let out of our storage systems into the delta, ostensibly to help fish, ostensibly to help with water quality. Well, one of the delta fish you talked about is known as the delta smelt. It's gone. They go out and they take what they call trawls looking for this species. It isn't there anymore. So they've shifted the narrative away so much from the smelt now to water quality, salinity, such as that. So, okay, we get that because some of the Bay Area intakes for city use are in the delta and they need to not have salt water coming into those. So the fresh water coming down basically from the mountains flushes that water away. They need some of that flow. According to statistics I've seen, because I can't hardly get a straight answer, is that 6 times the flow has been pushed through there as what it would take to maintain that salinity. 6 times the flow. So much water is not being captured. California still has a lot of rain and snowpack that falls upon it. It's not being captured. So what are we down to? That water district I met with, those farmers, they're going to receive 7% of their flows. Okay? 0.4 acre feet. So if you had 100 acres, you would get to plant 7 acres. Can you imagine in any kind of business atmosphere where you get to operate 7% of it? We got to get this right. The federal government needs to come in and do its job and not just worship the Endangered Species Act.
Gentleman's time has expired.